METS Ignited is the industry growth centre for mining equipment, technology and services. Australia's METS sector is a recognised world leader in innovation and technology, delivering the safety, environmental and productivity outcomes that sustain our global resources sector. The success of Australia's METS companies has created more highly skilled jobs and expanded the local economic contribution of Australia's leading technology sector.
Hello and welcome to this presentation on raising the performance of LTE in Australian mines and challenging the status quo. My name's Nigel Slater. I work for 3D-P. Let's get started. LTE provide the undeniable benefits to users of all kinds. This includes a high level of predictability, true quality of service and connectivity at longer distances than Wi-Fi style networks. As LTE network infrastructure is becoming more affordable and access to spectrum is getting easier globally, miners are taking advantage of the technology for applications involving their mobile assets. Mining does, however, create some specific challenges regarding the use of LTE. Australian miners are now well aware of the numerous advantages that LTE presents, provided that you have access to spectrum. However, there are still some gains to be made. Firstly, LTE has been developed with a bias for consumers to download information from the network using the downlink, while mining applications typically upload data to the network using the uplink. So there's an asymmetry aspect at play with LTE. This is exacerbated as most industrial LTE user equipment, or UEs, aren't operating in a MIMO antenna configuration in both the downlink and uplink directions. As the technology is geared towards downloading from the network to the UE, alternatively called the LTE modem or CPE device, will use both of its antennas to receive the signal, which aids in a higher throughput transmission of data. When operating in the uplink mode, only one antenna will transmit to the LTE network. Another way of explaining it is with two antennas typically available, both are physically capable of receiving, but only one is physically capable of transmitting. This can be problematic in mining as the size of the vehicles can effectively shadow the single transmitter antenna on one side of the vehicle from the LTE base station it needs to connect to. This issue is solved with the Osprey Intelligent Endpoint, as we've designed an intelligent dynamic switch for the transmit function of the endpoint. This RF switch is implemented independently from the LTE modem, providing flexibility in the choice of modem we integrate into the Osprey without losing this antenna enhancement. The RF switch implementation includes a hysteresis algorithm to prevent flapping between transmit antennas. This means that if the switch's decision to change antenna was based on just connection quality every time the machine moved, it would switch antennas, flap, and create a loss in performance. The hysteresis algorithm has a configurable threshold so that the switch will not happen unless the performance increase is significant. We've also implemented a configurable delay that can be set to match the dynamics of the movement of the environment. The result is an endpoint that is responsive to the mining environment, but not at the cost of performance. As an example, miners that only have access to public LTE will typically be dealing with a network coverage and capacity that was never intended for the purpose of mobile mining applications. In contrast, purpose-designed and built private LTE networks should be more performant in relation to these applications. The ability to configure the Osprey Intelligent Endpoint to adapt to either scenario or anything in between means that our customers will get the most out of their network regardless. In summary, it's all about being able to adapt to the dynamic nature of the vehicle within a certain type of environment. One second challenge refers to the fact that current mining applications are layer 2. That is, they operate at the MAC level of the network according to the OSI 7 layer model. The LTE is a layer 3 technology which uses segmented routing over IP. To solve this issue, a layer 2 fabric needs to be created on top of the layer 3 network. Traditionally, there are multiple ways of doing this. GRE, L2TP, and IPsec are all examples of old school tunnels, very much like VPNs. The problem with these options is they aren't stateless. And this creates more complication around how detection of broken tunnels is performed and connection re-establishment time is achieved. This incurs lost connection time and ultimately dropped packets, which equals poor performance. The mining industry looked to L2 technologies that came about from large-scale data server deployments. A tunneling protocol called VXLAN has become the prevalent solution in mining, but the solution still isn't cut and dry. VXLAN doesn't support packet fragmentation and reassembly, and that creates problems for our miners using LTE as the network technology. Typical LTE deployments only support a maximum MTU packet size of 1500 bytes. So if a packet from an application operating over the network is larger than that size, the packet will be dropped. One somewhat clunky workaround is to manually set applications to send smaller packets or to lower MTU size on a per device basis. Tunneling solutions also require a back office appliance that supports the tunnel creation and operates as a concentrator for all of the connections coming from out in the field. It needs to know what client devices are operating over the network. And again, this is not a seamless problem to solve with VXLAN. The appliance needs to be constantly updated with the list of operating devices. We've chosen an alternate approach, and importantly, one that solves both of these issues natively without any additional manual effort or per device configuration at the layer 2 of the layer 2 fabric. If you'd like to know more, please come and talk to us about what we've achieved. We've also developed a hybrid Osprey, one that incorporates both LTE and Radiant's Instamesh technologies. And here's a look at a few reasons why. First of all, when a layer 3 link is desired as one of the available uplink paths, such as an LTE link, RPT, remote protocol tunneling, a tunnel available within Instamesh, is utilised to pass the data over that layer 3 link and back to the local Radiant network. The reconnection of this tunnel also becomes a non-event, as traffic has potentially many alternate routes out to the network, which while the tunnel is established as described above. The meshing capability of the hybrid allows mobile equipment to remain connected even when outside LTE coverage through meshing with connected neighbours or infrastructure. In addition, the hybrid solution can provide significant throughput increases in high traffic areas where the deployed LTE network may be reaching its throughput limit. The hybrid solution allows traffic to be routed through locally deployed meshing infrastructure, providing load balance and increasing available throughput in the area. In critical or high traffic areas, the 3D-P Instamesh client can route traffic through locally deployed mesh infrastructure in addition to the LTE infrastructure, providing load balancing and, as stated, drastically increasing available throughput in the area. The Instamesh infrastructure only need be deployed in those specific high traffic requirement areas. The rest of the mine can continue to utilise LTE alone for connectivity. I hope this presentation provided some value on the enhancements available to your current LTE solution or opportunities for your future network plans. Thank you and goodbye.
METS Ignited is the Industry Growth Centre for Mining Equipment, Technology and Services. Australia's METS sector is a recognised world leader in innovation and technology, delivering the safety, environmental and productivity outcomes that sustain our global resources sector. The success of Australia's METS companies has created more highly skilled jobs and expanded the local economic contribution of Australia's leading technology sector.